What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Vignali, or more widely known as Sideswipe, and I've had a pretty interesting weekend, and I'd like to share my findings with the rest of you. Today, I'm showing you the real fix for Moza wheelbases losing their force feedback, whether it be R5, R9, R12, anything. Personally, I lost force feedback on two different Moza bases. I actually went out of my way to purchase a new wheelbase because I believe that the one I had was bad. So this video has every fix in order, and hopefully all of these fixes that you go through will bring back your force feedback. So I'm going to get right into chapter 1, starting it. Just a bit of an injection right here in the middle. If you'd like to know what actually fixed my wheel, you can actually scrub through this entire video and get towards the end where I actually show what actually fixed my wheel. If that does not work for you, you can go back through all of the methods that I've tried to fix my wheel with, and hopefully that fixes your problem. So towards the end of this video is the actual fix for me. If you'd like to go through this entire video, which I know most of you are lazy and don't want to, by all means go back to the end of the video and watch it. If not, I have all of the troubleshooting steps that I took through this entire troubleshooting process and documented it all. Thanks, guys. Cool, so hopping into chapter 1, we're going to do a quick symptom check. So if your wheel turns normally, tracks inputs, has soft lock, has natural damping, and calibrates with small jolts in Moza PitHouse, but it has no centering, no load, no tire force whatsoever in game, then this guide is for you. There may be some other symptoms that you do not have. It may not have lock, it may not turn normally, it may just spin forever. Hopefully the problems and the things that you have, that this guide will help you. So in chapter 1, you just want to make sure, does it turn normal? Does it track your inputs? Does it have soft lock? Does it have the natural damping? And does it jolt? Does it turn when you calibrate it in Moza PitHouse? If so, we can move on. At any point that your wheel does not have those options, you have options that you can really look at. You want to make sure that the actual cable, the USB cable that's being plugged into your PC, is not bad. And it could have gotten chopped, it could have gotten stepped on, it could have been pulled partially out of the port. It could have damaged the port on the back of the wheel. So you want to check that cable and make sure that it's not only plugged in, but it's plugged into a USB 3.0 port on your PC if that's available. Why I say 3.0 is because 3.0 has the most power on your PC. And these wheels are finicky. Some of them are real finicky about the 3.0 port. So if you are plugged in with a 3.0 port and you're having issues, then you should plug it out of that 3.0 port and put it in a normal port. The way you know the difference between 3.0 and normal port, a normal port will either be gray on the inside or black, that little tab on the inside of that square port for your USB. And if it's 3.0, it'll have a nice blue color. That's how you know the difference between 3.0 and normal ports for USB. Next thing is power. And I was kind of skeptical of this at first, and I did confirm later that my power was not the issue with my wheelbase. In the frequently asked questions about force feedback on the Moza question and answer section, it talks about force feedback being lost because the power supply is not getting good power, clean power, enough power. I did confirm later that the base did have power, and I had no issues with my R5 being plugged into a power surge on the wall. If at any point you feel like this is a problem, unplug almost everything from the wall and plug the base just directly right into the wall and see if that changes anything. If it doesn't, go ahead and revert everything back. That's not the problem. I know a lot of people have issues unplugging all of this stuff because they do require power for other devices on their PCs, and that was one of the things I had problem with. Basically, it was bare bones. I plugged in my wheelbase, I plugged in my PC, it was two plugs, I didn't have anything else plugged into the wall, and made sure that my base, basically the symptoms didn't change when I plugged in my wheelbase into the wall. So I knew that was not the problem. So next thing, that would be power. Try that and see if that fixes your issue. So before I get into this new section, I just want to let everybody know that this is going to be a lengthy process for some people, and other people it may be very simple. It may be something like was unplugged, maybe a power issue, but you may have to dive into this like I did and figure out what exactly is wrong with your wheel. Is it software based? Is it game based? Is it hardware based? Is it actually the wheel? It's going to take a while to figure that out if you don't know where the problem is. That's part of troubleshooting. So I know this video might be long. I can already tell kind of where it's going right now. Just be patient and try all of these options, and at some time you feel you may be a little bit discouraged, try again the next day and see if you can get a little bit farther. This is a very lengthy process, and it's taken me actually a couple weeks to figure this out, and making this video hopefully will bring that weeks down to maybe a couple days of figuring out what's actually wrong with your wheel. So for this next section, we're going to be in Steam. We're going to open up Assetto Corsa in Steam. So you're going to get on your library, you're going to come down to Assetto Corsa, you're going to get this little gear option, go down to properties. And once you have properties open, you're going to down to controller, and you're going to toggle this little input over here from use default to disable Steam input. For whatever reason, Steam likes to take control, and it tries to make decisions for you, and it's all in good faith, saying that, well, if something gets disabled or something gets unplugged, you have other controllers that could take over those inputs. Problem is if Steam is making those decisions for you, you don't know what's priority. You don't know that your wheel has control of the game, and Steam's making those decisions for you. So for this solution, we can use the disable Steam input. Takes everything off, and mind you, when I do enable this, it does enable some other things like Xbox controller, maybe a Nintendo Switch if I had it connected at some point. So you want to disable it, so it disables everything. I myself have never had this problem. I never had to even go into my controller settings for Steam. I've never met anybody who's had this issue either. Apparently on ChatGPT, 90% of people that do this fix their force feedback. I myself have never experienced that, but if this works for you, right on. So now in this next section, we're getting a little bit nitty gritty, more into your device, more into your hardware and software. So basically, I want to open up over here on my notepad. I do have the locations of which you want to delete some things. The way you do that, you go down to your file explorer. I'm just going to open up this window, and I'll kind of split screen so we can kind of look at both of them together. And then you're basically just going to type in these locations in the top search bar for these areas. This may not work because obviously my username needs to be inside here, so you would type in your username, and then you want to basically delete Moza PitHouse, all of the config files, everything that's Moza related from all of these locations. So basically completely uninstall and delete anything, any carbon footprint that Moza had on your computer, and then reinstall PitHouse. I know this might come as really bad news because I know a lot of us work on our wheel settings very stringently, and we put a lot of time into them. At this point, I was just focused on getting force feedback back, and it was actually a little bit of a learning experience for me back when I did lose force feedback originally the first time, to actually load my wheel and actually make the settings back to where they were. And honestly, the way my settings are now are way better than they were before. It was a good learning experience. So be prepared. If you are uninstalling Moza PitHouse and deleting everything, its entire footprint on your PC, be prepared. Those settings and those parameters that you've saved are going to be wiped. I would not recommend that you save any of those configurations and try them load them back in on Moza PitHouse when you install it again. The reason why is because there might be some configuration, something that you did that caused your wheel not to work, and you're just loading the problem back again. So unfortunately, if you are going the Moza PitHouse deleting method, that you delete everything and start fresh, and hopefully it brings back functionality. So getting right into that, you would delete from all these locations. So in my case, I would have to put this in, put my username in, So I just want to voice over this entire process. I was trying to find this location and I had it on my PC before, but it disappeared. There may not be, these locations may not be on your PC. Just like I said, I'll keep searching for this specific file location and I cannot find it. So another way of going through it is going through documents. You can come down and try and find Moza in here. And here's Moza PitHouse. Deleting all of this, or maybe even this whole file, might delete everything, but like I said, you need to delete them from all of the locations on your PC. Good way to do that is just kind of like searching my entire PC for the word Moza, and it's gonna take a while. It's gotta go through your entire C drive, especially if you have more than 1 terabyte. It's gonna take a very long time to find all these Moza instances on your PC. Once you find them all, delete them all. Very simple. And just to an extra measure, if once you've deleted all of this, you'll also want to open up your control panel. You can get to your control panel by clicking search down here and just finding it there, and it'll open up control panel. I already have it open. It'll open up this menu and you'll go into uninstall a program, and then you're just going to search through all of your programs until you find Moza PitHouse. And I believe it doesn't even have a logo. Another weird thing that happened here, I was looking for Moza PitHouse in my control panel under my programs, and I just could not find it. I have PitHouse on my PC, but it was definitely not there. If you find its instance there in the control panel, delete it. Very simple. Uninstall. If you don't see Moza in this list, then at that point you know Moza's been completely deleted and there's nothing else left on your computer to delete. If it is here, you'll just kind of right click on something, like for Blender, of course. You can right click on it and then hit uninstall. I believe Moza PitHouse does have an uninstallation software, so at that point it'll open the uninstallation software and you can tell it, I'd like to delete this program. Once you've done that, we can move on to the next problem of reinstalling PitHouse. You want to reinstall PitHouse. So we're going to go over to mozaracing.com. We're going to go under their support page. And then we're going to go to Moza PitHouse. And we're going to hit download now. It's going to take us to a different page. And then whichever operating device you're on, you're probably on Windows, you're going to hit download. It's going to bring you to this file download page. It takes a couple seconds. And then Moza PitHouse should show up in your downloads up here. My computer was having a little bit of a problem actually pulling from this site, and I think it's because I already have PitHouse in my download section, and I already have PitHouse installed. So once you go through that process, it should be very straightforward from there. Don't change any file locations. Don't tell it to put PitHouse in any other locations than it's already trying to put in, and install Moza PitHouse normally. So once Moza PitHouse is actually open, I want to try and make sure that my base is actually being recognized on my software. If it's not, then you already know something's unplugged, it's not on, it's partially plugged in, something's wrong. You may be able to switch USB ports. Moza PitHouse software is very, very finicky. I do not like it. This new update might have changed a couple things, but I don't like this software at all. It's not very friendly. It has no way of really testing whether or not this wheel has force feedback other than just a calibration. But that's literally the first thing you want to do. If you have connection, then you're going to want to come down to your wheelbase, and then you'll do this wheelbase reset and calibrate. You're going to take your wheel off. It's going to go into a start calibration. This button will be clickable, and then it's going to go through this entire parameter list. And what you should see on your wheel, you should hear jolting, and you should see bits and bits of movement in the beginning. You'll see it kind of jolt, move back and forth, and then it will start rotating very slowly. If you see that, it's a good sign. It means that your base is actually moving and it's responding to what PitHouse is telling it to do. It's going to go through its wheelbase inspection, its calibration and everything, and then it's going to tell you this test is complete and that you can close it. And then the wheel is going to do what's called a soft reset. So basically a soft reset would look a little bit like this. It's going to turn off, it's going to do its thing, and then it should reconnect to PitHouse and kind of center itself. And that should be it. Usually after you recalibrate, it should bring back force feedback, but that was not the case for me. So going on to this next section. So moving into this new section, I thought maybe, you know what, let's delete Content Manager completely, reset all my settings, and then try and rebind everything, and hopefully that fixes my problem. So what I did to uninstall Content Manager, there's nothing online that shows you how to uninstall Content Manager. It doesn't have a uninstallation software. So this is how you delete it. You're going to come down to your search bar, you're going to type in Content Manager, and then instead of opening it, you're going to open file location. Make sure it's also closed while you're doing this. You're going to delete everything in here, mainly this executable. You're going to delete that. Once it's deleted, delete anything on your computer that's related as well. If you have a Content Manager folder on your desktop, just go ahead and delete that as well. Once you've deleted the executable and everything that's on your desktop, you're going to come down to what's called this AC Tools Content Manager. It's in this file location. It's going to be where mine is. It's going to be in C, users, my username, app data, local, and then it's going to be called AC Tools Content Manager. You can also type this actual name into the search bar, and if you go down into users and just type this in, it should find this pretty quickly. If you can't find it that way, you can search your entire PC for this file, and yeah, it's gonna take a while to find it, but this is the location that's usually in this user, app data, local, and then AC Tools Manager. And I'm just going to back to local real quick here and just delete this entire file. Once you've deleted that entire file, you're going to go through the process of reinstalling Content Manager. I'll link a couple videos of other creators that show you how to do this. They do a better job of actually showing you how to reinstall Content Manager. I know how to do it kind of from heart. I've done this a couple times, but if you need a refresher on how to do that, I'll link those videos in the description as well. Something to note really quickly: if you're going the Content Manager removal route, I would recommend not only uninstalling Content Manager, but actually going into Steam and uninstalling Assetto Corsa and reinstalling Assetto Corsa. A couple things to take note: a lot of us have a lot of data, a lot of tracks, a lot of cars. We don't want to lose those. We may have personal projects that we're working on. A quick way of actually doing that is going into your C drive, program files 86. You're going to come down to Steam apps. You're going to open up common, and then these are all your games in Steam. You're going to open up Assetto Corsa, and then you're going to come down to content, and then you're going to save this cars and tracks folder. You're literally going to copy them and put them in a safe folder on your desktop somewhere not inside the Assetto Corsa root folder. Reason why you're doing this is because I'm going to take my cars and my tracks and move those devices back into CM once I deleted everything and restarted all over again. Once you've done that, you'll want to reinstall Assetto Corsa again, let it do its thing. It actually takes quite little time to actually install. It's a very small game base by itself. And then actually try and play Assetto Corsa base game like you normally would without Content Manager. So I'm gonna, for the instance, I'll start the game and kind of show you what this process should look like. So once Assetto's open, we never usually see this menu. You go to main menu, and then you're going to come down to options here, and then you're going to go down to controls. Now normally when you start up the game, all of these controls are not going to be here at all. You're basically just going to click it, it's going to wait for input, then you're going to turn your wheel until it starts moving that slider. And now you know your wheel's working on it. Obviously, you want to do your pedals and everything, my handbrake as well. One thing to note, when I initially started this, I read something online about other devices taking priority, and that's the reason why your wheel is not working correctly, because it's not the priority device. There is a section I will go over on setting your priority device. The way you can tell if it's not set to priority is if I unplug all of these or not even bind them, and I just bind my steering, my 3 pedals, and that's it. In this case, I would take off my handbrake, and then on my shifter section, I would take these off as well. And then I only have wheel and pedals. I'll know if my wheel's not priority if I get force feedback after taking these devices off, and when I put them back on, my wheel loses force feedback. You know that these devices have priority instead of your wheel. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to hop right in and see if I actually have force feedback. In this case, I do. Now, if at this point you still do not have force feedback, there's 2 things that we need to do. 1, you need to set your priority device. And 2, we need to delete Assetto Corsa's controller config file and force feedback post-processing. This was the thing that fixed my wheel. So going into this next section, I wanted to talk about setting your wheel to the actual preferred device on your PC. This actually wasn't the fix for my wheel, but it might be a fix for yours at some point. The device, when you got a new wheel, if you plugged it into a different port, that it was not selected as the priority device. And doing that, you're gonna need to do a few things on your PC. So here's a couple things that you may have done that caused your wheel to actually do that, and the result is exactly what we're experiencing. Steering works, our soft lock works, our damping, encoder, everything, calibration have no force feedback. So this is actually how you set that priority device. So here we got this workflow. You're gonna hit Windows key R, and then we're just gonna type in this joy.cpl right in here. It's going to open up this menu. It's going to show you all your game controllers. You're going to click on your base. In my case, it's Moza R9. And then we're just going to keep following it all the way down here. Click Advanced. And then this is the preferred device. It's on Moza R9 base. Now, if I clicked any of the others, like my shifter, and I go to Advanced, my preferred device is my R9 base. If it's not, set it to your R9 base. So I can set any of these to priority. Now, I know my wheel is set as priority. Go back in Assetto Corsa without using Content Manager and see if that fixes the problem. Once you get force feedback actually in base Assetto, it's pretty easy to transition everything to Content Manager after that. If this did not fix your problem, going on to the next thing that actually did fix my wheel's problem. Alright, if you've come this far, you have gone through so much struggle, and I hope this fixes it for you. It did for me, but this is the grand finale. This is what fixed my wheel. You're basically going to go to Documents, Assetto Corsa, and CFG. And you're just going to go into the config file and delete these 2 initialization files. So it's very simple. You're going to go to Documents. Then you're going to look for Assetto Corsa. Open this guy, then you're going to go up CFG, which is also short for config, and then you're going to delete controls.ini and force feedback process.ini, and I mean literally delete them. What it's actually doing is it's deleting the config for your controls and your force feedback, putting them at 0, and then when you go back into CM and rebind your controls, that is what gives it kind of a fresh start. I think what happened was Originally, when I switched from my Moza PitHouse setting for drifting to my 540 for GT racing, at some point it corrupted, and then it ended up saving that corrupt file on my controls and force feedback post processing. And it just kept loading that over and over and over again. And I was like switching settings and saving things and changing configurations, and it just made a really big mess. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's not working, let me try it in a different game. And then I took that config and put it on CarX, and I also have another video I'm going to be making for CarX and how to fix that on CarX. It brought the problem everywhere else, and I finally came to the conclusion, and I was like, you know what, there's no video for this, I need to make one. I need to figure out how to actually fix this and show the community how to do it. This is what fixed my problem. Once you delete these from that documents folder, again, documents, Assetto Corsa, config, and then you're going to go down to controls and force feedback post process. Delete them. Go back and see them, or not back and see them, but in an Assetto Corsa, play, rebind your controls. You won't have to worry about preferred devices. My shifter and my handbrake are not the preferred, they're not the preferred device. My wheel is, so I don't have to worry about those being connected. You can connect them, and they're not going to cause any issues now. At this point, we're finally coming down to the last things. This was something I also did experience. I'm not sure if it actually contributed to things getting fixed, but it's definitely something I want to go over. And this is your USB power and your motherboard stability. At one point, I ended up deleting some of my USB drivers actually on my motherboard. I actually had to fix them. If you guys do experience that, please hit me up, an email or whatever you can on Discord. I'll link my Discord down in the description. I can show you actually how to install your drivers on your PC if your USB ports do not work. There's a will, there's a way. What I actually did have to do on my PC is disable USB selective suspend. So some Windows 11 PCs have this feature where if you're not using devices on your USB ports, it actually shuts them off to power save. I have no clue why this would even be a setting on a gaming PC. Just really stupid and dumb, but it is something that actually happens. What you fix that is you disable the USB select suspend. So I'm actually going to go through that process right now. You're going to open up your control panel. Well, actually, it's not your control panel, it is your device manager. This guy, and you're going to come down to your universal serial bus controllers, and then on your generic hubs, I also did on the host controller and then this root hub. What I actually did delete was the root hub one, which I think was my drivers for my actual motherboard. So all of my USB ports stopped working. But your generic USB hub, you're going to hit properties. You're going to go to power management, and then this is actually checked again. I don't even know why it's checked again, but you want to make sure that these are unchecked. And you're going to do this for all of the hubs. This one's unchecked again. I'm going to do it for this guy too. Now, if you're asking, it's like, oh, well, why is he not doing it on the USB composite device? Because if I open properties on this, there is no power management. And then you're going to come down to root hub as well, properties, power management, and uncheck this. Once those are all unchecked, they're not going to shut off or power management for whatever reason. And then the next thing was I turned off, or I plugged in my Moza base into my USB 3.0. I'm not sure why it says 2.0 here, but plugged into my 3.0, those blue ports on the back of your PC. And make sure that you have a good stable connection and you have a powered connection going to your wheel. And then, like it says here on ChatGPT, avoid the front panel ports or hubs, and then obviously use a direct wall outlet for your Moza power brick, and make sure that at some point you verify that that's the problem. In my case, I verified very in the beginning that it was not my power supply. I actually took my power supply off the wall and actually tested it. It's supposed to have 12 volts. and I think it had like 12.8 or something like that on each side, and then obviously I had no power from leg to leg. It's supposed to be going to ground. So I knew my power supply was very good. I actually was in an email list with Moza, and they gave up about halfway through on troubleshooting with me. And I had to buy a new base, and I figured out the new base had exactly the same problem. So yeah, it's been a long journey. Absolutely long journey. So just so you're not jumping around this video trying to find these sections, I had ChatGPT kind of put this into a summary section and just kind of go over everything that I did for myself, the actual fixes, and what you could do to fix your wheel. So 90% of your force feedback issues are caused by, and then there's those listing, your steam input overriding the wheel. You want to set your steam input to disabled so it does not override anything, and you are telling it what it wants to be priority. Your corrupted AC config file. So those were those config files that I actually deleted earlier. That was my fix. Those corrupted AC config files do load back in after you've uninstalled AC, and it will continue to keep putting those corrupted files on until you delete them. I deleted Content Manager, restored my old configs. The PitHouse driver corruption, that was another thing. I wasn't sure if my drivers were bad. I wasn't sure if my wheel was connecting to PitHouse. So I showed you how to delete that entire PitHouse application, reinstall it, and make sure that your wheel's actually doing its checks and PitHouse is recognizing it. And then those USB HID mismatches after switching bases. So after switching my base or plugging into a new port, things lose their priority. Ports are shutting off, turning back on because they're not in that performance mode. And you want to make sure that they're unchecked and that you have a stable connection on your USBs. So actually what did fix mine was deleting those AC configs. So that that actual file, those two files that we deleted earlier, which were in config, this guy, controls and force feedback processing, those two files I deleted. I went back into Assetto, rebinded my controls, and force feedback came back. That is exactly what the fix was for me. If you had skipped through this entire video and you came up to this point and this did not fix it, you can go back all the way to the beginning and watch every single thing that I tried to fix my wheel with. Hopefully this video does something for you. It helps you out. If this video saved you, drop a comment so other people know that this works. I went through hours of troubleshooting with 2 wheelbases to find the actual fix, and now you don't have to do that. So thank you guys for watching this. If you have any other questions or need any other troubleshooting advice, please feel free to hit me up through email or on my Discord. I'll try my best to reach you guys as soon as possible. I do work, I do have a life outside of sim racing, but when I come home, that's exactly what I do. Thanks guys, peace, have a good day.